by Indian Research Scholar Association। आज की इस दूसरे दिन में अपनी व्याख्यानमाला का दूसरा सत्र शुरू होने वाला है। आज की हमारे प्रमुख वक्ता है डॉक्टर ज्योतिका शर्मा मैडम, प्रोफेसर सिक्किम यूनिवर्सिटी से है। कार्यक्रम की प्रस्तावना हेतु हमारे साथी विकास कुमार जी को मैं विनंती करता हूं कि वे इस व्याख्यान श्रृंखला प्रास्ताविक पेश करें।
Okay, so Kuldeep ji, if Manisha madam is here, so
प्रस्ताविक के बाद आपके प्रस्ताविक के बाद मैडम जो अपने स्पीकर है उनको परिचय देंगे।
गुड इवनिंग, नमस्ते। मेरा दिखाई दे रहा है वीडियो? कैन यू सी माय वीडियो?
नो मैम,
no, it's not. Okay, I'll just log out and log in again, maybe some issue.
Okay. विकास जी आप स्वागत कीजिए, उसके बाद मैडम का परिचय करवाते हैं।
यस कुलदीप जी मनीषा जी को परिचय दिलवा दीजिए और हम लोग डायरेक्टली स्टार्ट करेंगे।
जी ओके। मैं मनीषा यादव मैडम जी को विनंती करता हूं कि वे आज के वक्ता हमारे ज्योतिका शर्मा मैडम उनका परिचय तथा स्वागत करें। मनीषा यादव मैडम।
धन्यवाद कुलदीप सर और विकास सर। वेरी गुड इवनिंग रेस्पेक्टेड शर्मा मैम एंड ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट। मैं मनीषा यादव अपने एवं पूरे इंडियन रिसर्च स्कॉलर एसोसिएशन की ओर से मैम आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करती हूँ। आज के व्याख्यान कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करने से पहले मैं आज की हमारी मुख्य वक्ता मैम आदरणीय मैम डॉक्टर ज्योतिका शर्मा मैम जी का परिचय आप सभी से करवाना चाहती हूँ। आदरणीय मैम, आपका पूरा नाम डॉक्टर ज्योतिका शर्मा है। आप सहायक प्राध्यापिका है सिक्किम यूनिवर्सिटी में। मैम आपके द्वारा आपके गाइडेंस में 4 लोगों का पीएचडी अवार्ड हो चुका है। मैम आपके द्वारा 4 रिसर्च पेपर प्रकाशित किया जा चुका है और 4 बुक मैम आपने पब्लिश्ड और एडिट करवाया है। मैम 2013 से 16 तक आपने मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी जयपुर में अध्यापन व अन्य जिम्मेदारियों का भी सफलतापूर्वक निर्वहन किया है। जुलाई 2018 से जुलाई 2021 के मध्य मैम आप मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी में कार्य कर चुकी है। सितंबर 2021 से अभी तक आप सिक्किम मणिपाल यूनिवर्सिटी में विभिन्न पदों पर कार्य कर चुकी हैं। मैम आपने 2001 से 2012 तक लगभग 12 साल आप नेवी चिल्ड्रन स्कूल में पढ़ा चुकी हैं। मैम आपके द्वारा 15 से अधिक वर्कशॉप एंड कॉन्फ्रेंस को कंडक्ट और अटेंड किया जा चुका है। और मैम आपको नेशनल स्काउट एंड गाइड में राष्ट्रपति अवार्ड भी प्राप्त हो चुका है। मैम ये बहुत अच्छी बात है। मैम आदरणीय मैम आपको नेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ साइकोलॉजी इंडिया, नेशनल साइंस कांग्रेस कोलकाता और अमेरिकन साइकोलॉजिकल एसोसिएशन की सदस्य भी हैं। मैम आज की इस व्याख्यानमाला में मैं आपको हृदय से स्वागत करती हूँ मैम, अभिनंदन करती हूँ।
धन्यवाद मनीषा जी।
ओके कुलदीप जी इनवाइट कर।
मैं अभी विनंती करता हूं डॉक्टर ज्योतिका शर्मा मैडम जिसे कि वे अपने व्याख्यान से हमें संबोधित करें।
Are you able to hear me? सुनाई दे पा रहा है?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much Manisha ji, Kuldeep ji, Vikas ji. Thank you so much for inviting me here and for such a nice, wonderful introduction about me. Thank you so much. See, knowledge sharing is always, good. Whatever you are, wherever you are, whatever pedestal you are, if you are not sharing your knowledge, it is of no use. That is what I believe. And whatever little things I know, I will definitely be sharing with you all. And just let me share my, presentation with you all just now. Give me one moment. So I'll just be sharing. Are you able to have it on screen?
No, madam.
No, madam.
दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है?
अभी नहीं,
अभी
मैम.
नहीं.
हेलो, आप देख पा रहे हैं स्क्रीन पे?
अभी
No,
नहीं,
ma'am.
मैम.
No, ma'am.
आपका
Not
speech
visible.
नहीं हुआ.
Not visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's not
It's
visible.
not visible.
I think there is some issue with the net also today. There is, it's very erratic today. I'll just give me just 2 minutes. Is it visible now?
No, madam. No.
Hello?
No, ma'am.
Not yet visible?
No.
It's some issue with this today. Are the rights with me for sharing? Sharing rights are there with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
शेयरिंग राइट्स हैं क्या मेरे पास? दिए आपने ना?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes,
can
ma'am.
share it, no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You can
Yes, ma'am.
share,
You
madam.
can
I
share.
don't know why
No
it's
problem.
not. अभी भी नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है?
नहीं, ma'am.
नहीं, ma'am.
Oh, it's showing sharing. My means मेरा हो रहा है share, but I don't know why you people are not able to see it. Okay, just a moment. There is some issue today. I'm so sorry for this glitch.
मैम यदि वहाँ
मैम
पर
यदि वहाँ
प्रॉब्लम
पर
हो रहा हो
प्रॉब्लम
तो
हो रहा हो
व्हाट्सएप
तो
पर शेयर
व्हाट्सएप
कर
पर शेयर
दीजिए,
कर
मैं
दीजिए, मैं
करता हूँ.
Just a moment. Give me one more minute. I think there is some issue with this today. एक मिनट, I'll just share it with you. You can just, because there is some issue, can't share your screen आ रहा है बार बार उस पे, so there is some issue. कैन यू प्लीज शेयर, मैंने उसको व्हाट्सएप पे आपके साथ शेयर किया है, कैन यू शेयर दिट?
Yes, ma'am. जय प्रकाश।
इसको शेयर कर दीजिए आप स्क्रीन पे।
हाँ, यस मैम। एक मिनट। ओके मैडम।
ओके, या, थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू। इसको फुल स्क्रीन कर देंगे आप? गुड आफ्टरनून, सॉरी फॉर द ग्लिच।
हाँ, यस मैम, मैं कर रहा हूँ। मैम आप स्टार्ट करिए। अब फुल स्क्रीन है मैम? एक मिनट मैम, मैं क्या है ना, रिकॉर्डिंग भी चल रही है ना मेरे से, तो थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है। हम्म 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 हम्म।
कुछ तो ग्लिच है आज, मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम विद दिस.
ओके मैडम, आप स्टार्ट करिए आप।
और
मैं अपने यहाँ से स्टार्ट करती हूँ, आप उसको हाँ प्रेजेंट कर दीजिए. या थैंक यू.
जी.
So yeah, this is about the statistics. So there are many, you can go to the second slide. There are as such many studies are there which I can say that, you know, whenever we have large data, we are not able to see, basically we are not able to make out of it that what exactly it is telling us. So many studies are there which generate large number of data points, and to make sense of this data we need to have the statistics, so that we can summarize the data, so that we can know what is the what this data is telling us, and how it is providing a better understanding of overall tendencies or distribution of score, or how it is going on one side, or whether it is giving us the right perspective, how we have to look at it. First, I would say the step in the research will be your statistics only. If you understand that, then only we will be able to go further understanding of the further research, means how we have to collect the data, and then how will we doing it on on further steps. So another next slide please. Why do we study statistics? Why do we have to need this? Why do we have to look at the study of statistics? This is the way we communicate the results in research, and this is the important link between research idea and usable conclusions. Because if we have a research idea, if we have something, we have thought of some idea, it means, I mean, after having so many observations, we have come to a point that, okay, I need to work on this particular research area. And then that is how, once I have made that point, and then I will be able to, if I am able to make an idea, then only I'll be able to use the statistics. And then statistics, whatever inferences we are taking out of it, on the findings of that, we will be able to use the conclusions, and we will be able to make the research findings, and then it can be generalized. So without statistics, we are not able to interpret the massive amount of information, whatever we collect, whatever is contained in data. And even the small, very small data sets also contain, you can say small to small also will be hundreds of numbers, which otherwise if you look at that, there are numbers only all around, but we are not able to make it what exactly is that. And each numbers are specifying a certain observation, what we have collected, what we have made. And also we organize these numbers into more interpretable form, because we will organize in such a way this data that we will be able to save time, money, and whatever resources we have been putting in to collect the data. Because the data has to be giving us some results. It helps us recognize underlying trends and tendencies, what exactly it is trying to tell us, what are the frequencies, and what are the organizing, means how we can organize it in a proper way. Next, please. Statistics are often presented in an effort to add credibility to an argument or advice, whatever assumptions we are making in a research, which will come to the hypothesis later. This particular data organization will add the credibility to that. It will also, we can see that if I take an example here, and this is there on the screen also, that sometimes we are looking at some television advertisements where they are just showing some numbers out of nowhere. And if they have not represented it carefully after doing the careful statistical analysis, they can be very misleading sometimes. And then some decisions which will be taking on the basis of that, on the basis of those advertisements, which we might later regret that why I have done this on the basis of looking at some advertisement, why I have bought this or why I have gone there. So some means data may be misleading if it is not properly carefully represented. So for all these reasons, we learn statistics, which is a very significant towards research. And next, please. After collecting data from the sample, you can also identify patterns in behavior, behavior exactly we are trying to do with this particular population, and then estimates will be on the basis of our inferential statistics. So finally we can interpret and generalize our findings. So that is how we will be looking at the why the statistics are important, why it is required, because everyone is talking about stats, what this data do. So basically it is telling us that how we have to interpret, and that will be generalized later in our research. Next please. So collecting data is the first step when we are doing any research. For that, whatever hypothesis we have formed, whatever observation, whatever questions, whatever objectives we have, we need to collect data. It can be in the qualitative or quantitative form. So we are usually interested in understanding the specific group of people. Suppose this group is known as population of interest or simply the population. Now, for example, you want to see entire country, you want to have a look at something, you want to have a look at, say, for example, you want to research on how people think about the voting. I mean, how do they like voting, or how do they think that this is a fair voting in country. So we want to take the, everyone's basically idea about that. So this, I want to do it on the entire India, but will it be possible to go to each and every person of India and then asking him ki, okay, tell me about your ideas about voting and everything? So that will not be possible. The population, which is basically the big number, which is the collection of all the people, all the states, all the cities who have some characteristics in common. It can be as broad as all the people, or if we have a real general research question about, because I am from psychology, so I have just given that example. So it can be either I am looking at all freshmen or first year students, psychology majors, those who are studying at some public universities. So if I'm looking at specific group in mind, then that will be my population, or it can be the entire country, or it can be the set of some people. That can be my population where I want to have my research basically on this population, on these people. I want to do this particular research. So the population, and then out of this population, because we are not able to go to each and everyone to ask, since I gave you one example of that, we will not be go to each and every person of the population. So what we do, we are taking out some samples, some part of this population we take out, and then we try and look at the we draw inferences basically about this larger set. There are some qualities or some characteristics which are matching, and then I am taking out of this population, which is a varied population, but I am looking at the homogeneous group, so that most of my research, where I want to do my research, they are all giving me the right results if I'm going for a homogeneous sort of group. If it is not homogeneous, then there will be some issues. Means you will not be able to generalize. You will be able to only generalize to that set. Say, for example, if I want to, as I gave you that example, if I want to ask everyone that how do you think about voting, or what are their views on voting, if you are taking only from West Bengal, or if you are taking only from one particular state or one particular city, then you will not be able to generalize those findings on the whole population what you are trying to do. And then that is why you will be looking at the entire population, and then there are the different sampling methods. Since that was not today my topic, so I have not gone further on that. But otherwise, you know that how you collect the sample, what are the sampling methods through which probability or non-probability samplings are there. Generally in behavioral sciences, we are many a times, because these are in social sciences, especially behavioral sciences, and in particular, if I talk about psychology, we are most of the time looking at we are mostly looking at the behavior of a person, and there are some traits we are looking at. After, when I look at these type of behavioral traits, those are inbuilt, those are stable traits I'm looking at. So in that case, I can sometimes go for non probability sampling also, where I'm making the sampling error very reduced. I would reduce the sampling error so that I can generalize those findings on the population. But most of the time, if we are going for probability sampling, that would give us the better findings, better results, so that these findings can be generalized on the population. So next please. So the inferences from various whatever data set we have taken, we have drawn, whatever sample we have drawn from the population. So all whatever are data we are collecting from there, this has to be organized. This has to be in a proper manner so that we can look at the final findings of that, so that we can have the generalization of my findings on the population what I am trying to research on. Oh God. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I thought maybe no voice is there, so I thought maybe I'm not audible. Okay, next I will be going for the types of basically types of statistics I will be talking about. Since we are our today's topic is descriptive, so there are two types of statistics. First is descriptive and then is inferential. In descriptive, we will be summarizing some characteristics of a sample, and which can be in the form of frequency distribution, which can be in the measure of central tendency, measures of dispersion or variability. Also, we can say these are the synonyms for each other. And there are measures of position also. And in inferential statistics, we will not be basically talking here today, but which test for significant differences between groups and or significant relationships among variables within the sample we will be talking about. So for descriptive statistics, I would like to highlight here that it is used for the descriptive statistics. If I come little more explanation, it is used for defining the subject characteristics, that what are the characteristics which are there and which are generally present in our subjects in our population. And say for example, a marketing team wanted to build out accurate buyer personas for specific products, for example, and industry verticals. They could use descriptive analysis on customer data set procured via survey or procured via questionnaires to identify consistent traits and behaviors. They could also, describe the data to build a clear picture and understanding of who their buyers are, including what are their preferences, what are their business challenges, or their incomes, and so on. So there may be, the further is measuring data trends. That is why descriptive statistics also used for to measure the data trend, that what how the data is showing the trending. And for example, you want to assess, basically to buy over several months or years for a specific target market and product. We want to assess. With descriptive statistics, we will be able to quickly summarize the data, and then exactly we can precise these data points that we need to understand the trends in what product purchase behavior is there, how people are, what type of products they are buying, or what type of, what time of the day they would like to buy this. So where this data is showing us what this data is showing us, our purchase behavior, we would be able to make out of it basically. So compare the events, populations, or phenomena. For that also it is used, how different type of demographics or different type of geographical locations respond to certain variables. For example, you might want to run a customer study where you want to see how buyers in different job functions respond, or how respond to a new product basically, and which features or price, I mean the prices or features, suppose change of this particular product. So all groups we are looking at whether the groups are all enthusiastic about the new features, or they want to buy it, or they don't want to buy it, or do they have any sort of reservations, they want to look at some other product. So everything we need to be looking at when we are looking at data, and this is how we can be we will be able to see that how it is showing us some phenomena or some sort of population, or we can compare the events also. So there are validating existing conditions. For that also you need to use descriptive data when you have a belief, or you have a hypothesis, or you have an assumption, but you need to prove it. You know it, but you don't know how to tell it to people. So you need to prove the thing. So you can use descriptive technique to ascertain that these patterns and assumptions, basically the underlying patterns and assumptions through this data what we are showing. Then form new hypothesis. To form a new hypothesis, obviously when you have made some assumption, you have made some idea, you have come out of this particular idea, and now you want to form the new hypothesis with the data presented and summarized also in a way, then everyone can understand, and you can infer the connections also from there, and then only you will be able to make the further deeper, taking these data points into account, you will be able to make further hypothesis or on the basis of this particular data set. And then these are the next slide, please. Descriptive statistics. So descriptive statistics, basically there are three types. Frequency distribution. We organize the data in these types when we are organizing. Central tendency and dispersion or variation. So central tendency, under central tendency you can see mean, median, mode is there on the screen, and then there is something called a range, standard deviation, and variance under dispersion or variation. So frequency distribution is what exactly? This is the arrangement of scores from a sample, which indicates how often a particular score is present, or what are the frequencies of different types of frequency. So most of the basic forms of these look at the frequencies, that how many, where exactly they are falling, on which scale they are falling. So this also may be expressed as a percentage of the total sample found in each category. So that is the free I mean, this is one of the example on your screen. The next slide, this frequency table gives the medals values. If you can see, this is the types of frequency and this is the type of medals. You can see the gold are 8, silver are 10, and bronze are 7. So this way, any table, anything can be made. The frequencies, if you go these days, you have a lot of softwares for that. But graph also, there are tables, there are graphs. Now since I'm talking about the graphs now, so histogram, bar graph are used for making percentages or making frequencies and percentages of especially because I have written one example here, percentage of internet user in many countries in the world, so that you will be seeing in the next slides. In a pie chart also, in each category, the data is basically represented by a slice of the pie. The area of the slice is proportional to the percentage of responses in the category. This is simply the relative frequency multiplied by 100. So on a bar graph also, frequencies are shown on y-axis and the type of things on the x-axis. That is how the bar graphs are shown and seen. In pie charts, they are very effective for displaying the relative frequencies, and also especially on the smaller number of categories. They are not recommended, however, when you have a large number of data or large number of categories. They're not very, I would say, effective. Pie charts can also be confusing when they are used to compare the outcomes of two different surveys or two different experiments. So you need to use the looking at your data, you need to use your graphs or tables or whatever frequencies you are looking at. So this is one of the earlier slides I was talking about, that this particular bar graph, you can say. Now we come to measurement of central tendency. Central tendency is measured by, of the data set, is measured by mean, median, and mode. That how the central tendency, basically where the center of our data is, the point. Basically, three things we look at when we are looking at the measurement of central tendency. First is the point on which a distribution will be balanced. The second will be the value whose average absolute division from all the other values is minimized. And the value, third one, is the value whose square deviation from all the other values is minimized. And mean, median, and mode are different measures of a center of a numerical data set. They can, you each, these three measures basically try to summarize the data and with a single number to represent a typical data tendency, basically, from the data set. And since we will be talking about the mean now, just a moment. So mean is the measure of central tendency. This is basically the, if you tell in a layman language or a simple language, the average score of all the individual scores what we have, the sum of basically the individual scores what we have and divided by the number of scores, the same thing was told, and same example was given. One of the example was given by the speaker yesterday. So I'm not going into that right now. I will be just showing you in the next slide what exactly is the average score and how you have to take the mean. Has a number of useful statistical properties, mean, because most of the time we will be looking at the, what is the central tendency by means of the data. Where whatever you will look at, you will be first looking at the mean of your data. What exactly is the central point and what is the standard deviation from that. However, it can be sensitive to extreme scores like outliers. If outliers are there, then you may not get the correct the score, the correct mean sometimes. So many statistics are based on mean. Symbol M pronoun mu is used for the mean of a population, and there is a symbol of you can say something called infinite type symbol is there. It is also used for the mean of a sample, and you can look at the symbols of formulas of this particular calculation of mean. So mean is basically just a moment. I think some issue with the my laptop today. That is what is the problem. So mean is to calculate the mean. We find the total of the values if you look at this particular slide, and divide the total by the number of values. Since we have seen 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers are there. And we have if you look at the last line, mean is equal to total by number of values. So it comes to 32 by 7. 7 are the total number of items, and then you can divide it by 32 divided by 7, and it comes to this number. This will be the mean of that particular data set or that particular score line what you are looking at. Nowadays actually we are not doing these, because most of the time in research we are looking at the softwares, we are using the softwares, and when we are using the software, that is the time we are looking at the it is doing its job on its own, and it's just a click of button. So this is the measurement of central tendency by some examples are given, some example scenarios are given there. If you want to describe the weight of your family and found out the data is whether it is normally distributed or not, or you have some daily allowances of your classmates and how it is normally distributed or not. So these are some of the examples. Next, please. So these are some assumptions which need to be satisfied when we are looking at the mean of the data. The measurement scale of the variable is at least interval. The data should be approximately normally distributed, and the data should not contain significant outliers. So we have to find out whether outliers are there, and then if outliers are there, then we'll have to be looking at the to clean the data, and then only we can do it. Second is median. Median is also frequently used measure of central tendency. Median is a midpoint of distribution. In the data set, we arrange the data points from smallest to largest, or number of data points are, if it is odd, then the middle point can be taken, middle data point can be taken. And if the number of data points are even, then the two numbers in the middle can be, summed together, can be added, and then it should be, after adding, the average of that number will be taken, and then that will be taken as a median. So next please. So median is the middle number. To find the median, we need to arrange the values, as I told you earlier also, in the numerical order from smallest value to the highest value, and find the middle value. The middle value is the median value. This, if you can look at this number here, we have 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. 7 numbers are there. So number 5 is a middle number, which is, these are the odd you can say numbers. There is one which is left, so M5 will be the middle point. In the mode, you can go to mode. The mode is most commonly occurring data point in a data set. This is useful when there is a lot of repeated values in data set, and generally, there can be sometimes no mode also, one mode or multiple modes in a data set can be there. And most of the time mode is not generally used measurement basically technique. Most of the time mean is only used for the data. You can go to the next. It's the most common number again, that how many time it is occurring. If you can look at these numbers, 1, 3, 4, 5 and 7 are only once, but 6 is repeated twice. So this type of numbers, basically the data set, if they are occurring time and again, and if you want to know the frequency, that is how the mode is used. Next, please. So when to use the mode? The mode is most applicable to data from a nominal level of measurement. Nominal data is classified into mutually exclusive categories. So the mode tells you the most popular category. We have already spoken about that it should be reoccurring. The number should be reoccurring. Then only you will be able to know that, okay, this can be the mode of this particular data set. For continuous variables or ratio levels of measurement, the mode may not be helpful. Measure of central tendency, continuous variables and ratio variables. That's because there are many more possible values than there are in a nominal or ordinal level of measurement. It is sometimes unlikely for a value to repeat in a ratio level of measurement. There can be little more or less sort of things can be there in that data set. That is why it is not very useful in that. Measurement of dispersion or variability, if we come to now, that how the variation of the data takes place, how much the data variation is there in our data set. So in that, if you look at on the slide only, that most of the statistics look at how it is scattered or how it is basically varied on a scale of this particular data set's individual scores are, means how scattered, how divided, how valid they are, how variable the data sets are. So groups with identical means can be more or less widely dispersed if it is in the data set is in the group form. To find out how the group is distributed, we need to know how far from or close to the mean individual the scores are. Then only we'll be able to know the variability of that particular data set. Like the mean, these statistics are only meaningful for interval or ratio level measures. So in normal distribution, if we look at, many characteristics are there, which should come in when we are looking at the data of a population or of a sample. Either we are doing it on a population or whatever our sample is. If we are looking at the data, it should be in a normal manner. So normal manner is basically the bell curve. If every one of you must be knowing by now that what is the bell curve, normal curve which have well-defined statistical properties. the data, if our data is fitting between this bell curve, then it is called the, the correct way of normal distribution. Parametric statistics also are based on the assumptions that the variables are distributed normally. Most commonly used statistics, this normal distribution, and where many cases fall near the middle of the distribution, or fall very either very, if it is very high, then there is a lot of variation is there, and if it is just near to the the mean, it means it's not it's normally distributed sort of data. So if you look at this particular slide of the normal distribution curve of IQ, so you can see that how it is distributed amongst the bell curve. And range, again we come to the dispersion, or there is another way of doing that is range distance, looking at the what is the distance between the highest and the lowest score in the data distribution. So sensitive, this is very sensitive to extreme scores. If you have outliers, then it would be, the range would be very high. And the range, if you look at this particular slide, so the range should be between scale of measure is between this 40 to 80 के बीच में. If you look at the 38 से 77 तक का height of a child or of a person. So the range is 77 to 38 is equal to 39. So that will be the range of the data, but it is sensitive to the higher scores. If it is going too high, I mean some outliers are there, then it might give you a little wrong interpretation of that also. Next. Measurement of variance, dispersion variance also is denoted by S square. Average of square distances of individual points from the mean. Sample variance, like high variances means that most scores are far away from the mean. If it is showing you high variance, it means it is far away from your mean, and low variance indicates that the most scores cluster tightly about the mean, around the mean. So the amount that one score differs from the mean is called its deviation score, or you can say it is deviating from the mean, deviating from the the average. The sum of all deviation scores in sample is also called a sum of squares. Standard deviation is a summary, which is the summary of statistics of how much scores vary from the mean. Square root of the variance expressed in the original units of measurement, standard deviation, and it's simply the square root of variance. This is also useful, and you can say the interpretable also. We can interpret them because taking the square root of the variance, or you can recall that the variance is the average squared difference. It can be put the standard deviation back into the original unit of your measuring we used. And when reporting descriptive statistics in a study, generally, scientists virtually always report mean and standard deviation, because standard deviation is therefore the most commonly used measure of spreading for your purposes, for your representing the average distance of the scores from the mean. And that is how, if it is more closer to the mean, it is showing the better, not much variation is there in the data. It means it is showing you the better side of your data. The population parameter for standard deviation is sigma, which we denoted by sigma, and also the variance parameter, which you can say S2. Occasionally, we use this symbol, generally for showing this particular square root of variance. And then there is something called skewness of the distribution, because whether our data is going in one direction. Either one is normal distribution. If it is not normally distributed, either it goes to the positively skewed or the negatively skewed. Skewed means going the whole data towards one side. Okay, when we look at the graph or the bell curve, if the whole most of the data is not under that, going towards outside, towards right or left more, then it is called the skewed distribution. And if the data is we come to know as soon as we look at our graph, or as soon as we look at our when we are doing this distribution, data of distribution. So then when the median and the mean are different, the distribution is skewed. When the mean and the median are different, the distribution will be skewed. And the greater the difference, the greater the skew. The greater the lesser the difference, the lesser will be the skew also. So it is distribution which basically goes towards the left are negatively skewed. Those who goes most of the time, the data is going towards the left, it means it is most of the time negatively skewed. And those that goes towards the right are called positively skewed data. And if the skewness is extreme, it is going too far, the researcher should either transform the data to make them better resemble a normal curve, or else it should use a different set of statistics, which can be non-parametric test or non-parametric statistics, so that you can carry out the analysis if the skewness is too much, or if it is not resembling the normal curve. Then in that case, non-parametric statistics are used to make the one side your data will be having more spread out and longer trail with fewer scores at the end than the other, and the direction of this tail tells you the side of the skew. So if you look at this particular slide, the data is towards on positively skewed side. Okay, and in the next slide, if you look at, it's going on the right side more. So negatively skewed, data. So that is how the distribution of posting this, how, I mean, these are some frequencies which are talking about the user net and all. So how the data is skewed in that is what they have shown. And last, I would like to summarize here that descriptive statistics are used to summarize data from individual respondents or individual, either respondents, and whichever way you have collected your data, whichever your studies, या qualitative है या quantitative है, they help us to make sense of the large numbers of individual responses, to communicate the sense of those responses to others. They also focus on typical or average score, the dispersion of scores over the available resources, available responses, and the shape of the response curve also we look at when we are looking at the data, basically organizing of data. That is the that is how we are looking at that, how we summarize the data in descriptive statistics. That is what it helps us with organizing it. With this, I will just conclude here. Thank you very much, because there was a lot of time in between which was wasted due to the technical glitch. Thank you very much. And as of now, I will not be able to take your questions. If you have any question, you can just write me on this. I will be definitely answering you back with whatever queries you have. Jyotika.Sharma hai, S should be smaller. It is not capital. By mistake, it is the capital one is there. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you. And yes, Vikas ji, you can take over now.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So Kuldeep ji.
धन्यवाद मैडम।
थैंक यू।
अगले चरण के तरफ जाते हुए मैं आभार प्रदर्शन के लिए मनीषा यादव मैडम जी को अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे इस सत्र का आभार प्रदर्शन व्यक्त करें। मनीषा यादव मैडम।
थैंक यू सर। आदरणीय मैम, आज का इस व्याख्यान में आपको मैम हम लोगों को इतने अच्छे से सब बताने के लिए मैम स्टैटिक्स के बारे में पूरा डिटेल और कब कब किन किन चीज़ों को यूज़ करते हैं और किसका क्या यूज़ है मैम, ये आपने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से बताया मैम। हम लोगों को और कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर होते गया मैम। हम थोड़ा बहुत जो हम लोग जानते थे उसमें मैम और ऐड हो गया और क्लियर होते गया। तो मैम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं अपने और अपनी पूरी टीम की तरफ से मैम, हम लोग का इंडियन रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स सोसाइटी की ओर से आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ मैम। और साथ ही जो भी इस व्याख्यान को सफल बनाने के लिए जो भी जुड़े हुए हैं सदस्य और आयोजन समिति के सभी सदस्य, सभी को मैं आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ। सर विकास सर।